Overcoming was never about providing anything to anyone. It was about surviving what should have broken my guest today and choosing purpose anyway. Rondregus Underwood, IamMrU.com. Broken foster kid finally stopped asking why all the bad stuff happened to him and started asking who he was becoming because of it. And in that shift, pain turned into purpose. He says, I don't hide my past. I honor it because it reminds me that perseverance, not perfection, is what builds legacy. What tried to limit me refined me. I am not what I came from. I am who I chose to become. This is one overcomer extraordinaire, and I might add debonair. But first, well, good, beautiful day, you beautiful, beautiful souls. This is Charla Anderson, host of the Charla Anderson Show, collector and connector of fascinating people, and everyone is fascinating, especially you. But first, we're going to do our 22-second mini vacation, that little breathing exercise to get us centered and calm. We're going to breathe in calm for 7 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and breathe out gratitude for 11 seconds. So here we go. Let's breathe in some I am calm. Hold. Relax, release. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I am really beyond honored to get to have this conversation with you, Rondregus. I know we met with Stacy Wright, one of the most extraordinary people we both know, and she's got the Heart Profit, amazing business to bring heart back into the business world and serve people, not corporations so much, and make a profit. So that's where we met, and she's doing extraordinary things. And Rondregus, Rondregus, Underwood, and I always like to spell because most people are listening and not watching. I was on the board of Heart Profit. Yeah. And so, Rondregus, thank you for joining me today, having this conversation. I know that you are up to some extraordinary things, and because you're like a stylist, I think it's fun to pull all those pieces together and find out how you overcame that really traumatic childhood. And we all got a story, and I want to know yours. But first, I want to have you tell us, who are you in this world? What is your purpose? What are you doing here?
First and foremost, Ms. Charla, I want to thank you for this opportunity to be on this platform. It was a pleasure meeting you at the Heart Profit event on last year, closing out such a phenomenal year, and meeting you through one of the most phenomenal people that I know, Stacy Wright. So this is definitely a pleasure and a privilege, and I thank you so much for this opportunity. A little bit about myself, you guys. I am nothing more than a vessel, right? I've found my purpose by the grace of God and just allowing him to operate through me, and realizing that everything that he took me through was to get me here and to be a blessing of impact to somebody else. That's in short of who I am. And I do so many things, right? So you guys buckle your seatbelt and get ready for this. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a full-time entrepreneur. Like Charla said, I am on the board of Heart Profit as the event lead and the event host. So every month we produce this networking event that I put together, as far as finding the locations, finding the speakers, and finding the food sponsors. Outside of that, I do events outside of Heart Profit, where I put together resourceful events for kids in the foster care community. I do a lot of public speaking. I do photography. Event host. I host a lot of other networking events around town for other clients. I'm a published author, so we'll talk about that a little bit more later. So yeah, I'm really just, a full-time entrepreneur out here doing my thing, just being a resource wherever I can, but at the same time, focusing and operating as much in my in my purpose and in my lane as possible. So God has blessed me with many gifts and many abilities to operate in so many different capacities. But anywhere that I can be an impact, Miss Charla, that's really where my focus is, and aligning with those things that we talked about earlier, as far as the foster care, anything they got to do with adoption or helping others align with their purpose in life. So, yeah.
Woo. Yeah, and how you're like a juggler, juggling a lot of things, and that's a lot of. I know doing events is a intense, an intense pressure cooker a lot of times. So
a lot of leadership skills, and I've grown to many different capacities over the years, like from producing fashion shows, which I do have a fashion show that I'm working on right now that I'm in the midst of producing. The actual fashion show is April the 19th here in the Dallas area. But it takes a lot of strategic planning, right? I think after doing it for so long, you kind of like pretty much have your checklist of things that you just kind of like get in a rhythm of doing with every event. But for the most part, most events are just different concepts, right? But it's a lot of times it's the same different things that you put in order for them to be a success. But I think after doing it for so long, I mean, you kind of like it's like second nature with anything else.
Yeah, and they very rarely are 100% conflict free or issue. Something always.
And it's crazy. Like that. Like every event, is going to be a conflict, and I think, like you said, just being proactive and knowing that it's going to be a conflict. So it's about how resourceful you are and how
flexible, and I was a flight attendant for 34 years. You've got to go with the flow. You've got to make, they only think constant is change, right? That's true.
How well you are able to bounce back, right? Whatever problem, whatever setback that comes or presents itself, just being able to recover and still show up and still have a successful event. Because I'm gonna tell you something. One thing that I learned with doing a lot of events is a lot of time your audience, they don't know when there is a mess up until you stop, right? But if you don't stop, they don't know what your program is. They don't know what your presentation is. So keep going. Don't stop. And learn how to pivot, right? Learn how to pivot well and learn how to smooth it out. But a lot of times they don't know when something is messed up, so you just gotta keep it.
And they shouldn't really, if you can keep it from being. I mean, there's some things, electricity going out or something. There's some things that are very obvious, but
things like that. But other than that, I mean, I've done a lot of events. I've seen a lot of things go wrong, and at the same time, I've built a brand, and a lot of people know me for mostly continue to have successful events. So. And I love it that way. Like building the supporters, building my audience, building my market. You're known for, mostly known for successful events, right? Like,
yeah, well, you wouldn't be doing it if you weren't. Anyway, listen, what we here to talk about is you weren't raised in a very happy place, and there's somewhere along the line something pivoted in your life, something shifted. You changed and chose. It is always a choice to choose whether to live in that the victim or the victor. So right. You were raised in the foster system, and we all have heard so many horror stories around all that, and you lived one. So. Is that something you want to share here?
Yes, ma'am. It is something that I want to share.
Because you're an advocate for foster kids
yes,
now.
Ma'am. I've stepped into this role of total transparency and authenticity, right, with my story. And, and like I tell people all the time, it's not to point fingers or it's not to blame anybody that's working in the system, because it's not everyone, right? It's not everyone that's quote unquote a bad foster parent, right? When I first went into the system, my first ever foster parent, I would never forget them. Like that was when I was like 7, 8 years old, and here I am, 40 years old now, and I still remember my first ever foster family, and they were amazing. They were amazing from their house. They had livestock in their backyard. They had this big lake in the front yard, and they were a Caucasian family, right? And they loved on us in a way where we just wasn't used to seeing. Like coming from like what we was coming from, like we was in the projects, right? Living in Section 8, really hard side of town, to be taken to their home and seeing so much order and structure and seeing these animals that I've never seen in my life, and it was amazing. And their kids came home from college to even visit us, right? And this family, like the way they came in our rooms and woke us up in the morning was just it was just so much love and care, right? And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. But there were times where we were placed in homes that were not so caring like that, right? So I kind of like experienced both sides of the spectrum, but I think that's what makes me an advocate. It's not advocating for the negative part of it, but also telling the good side of it as well. But at the same time, being able to bridge these gaps for and be a voice for these kids that are going through the system now, and also other foster parents and other people that's working this system, being able to be a voice that has lived the experience to help them build the gaps and build resources of insight to be more of a helpful attribute to these kids that are still in the system.
Yeah, and I know you aged out, and that's a really hard thing. I don't know what I'm sure you know the percentage that they have say out there that is, at 18, all of a sudden you're kicked out. You have without any.
Yeah.
Unless your foster families have guided you, you have nothing. Right. Is that correct?
It's actually. It's a lot more scarier than people probably can actually fathom in their mind. Because I think most people, they probably have that family support when they're, graduating high school, transitioning into college or whatever, the military or whatever career choice they're going into. So it's a little bit more of a safety net there for kids that are privileged to have that. But on the other hand, is some kids that don't, right? And I happen to be one of those kids that didn't have that safety net with aging out of foster care after being in a children's home called Brentwood Children's Home. That children's home is still in Montgomery, Alabama today. A lot of the caseworkers that work there are still there, working still at that children's home, Brentwood Children's Home. You guys can look them up. They do a lot of, they have a lot of sponsors that allows that place to function, right? That provides all of the holidays and the kids' Christmas clothes and supplies and birthdays and a lot of stuff that goes on within that children's home. They're amazing. But with aging out of care, yeah, it's one of the scariest things that a child can experience when those resources and those certain personnel are not in place to help them transition until adulthood, man, because at that point you're on your own trying to figure out life, right? And so I don't know if there was a lot of people like myself back then when I was aging out, but I didn't really know too many of them. And that's what encourages me to do what I do now, because I wish I had a voice or somebody to, help me transition into that next phase of life, because it is hard going into the world without much guidance or much know-how on how to figure things out. So, yeah.
A huge percentage don't do well.
Yeah, it's a 66% chance that most kids that age out of foster care are either in prison or homeless or dead. on drugs, like all of the bad things we hear. Like a lot of the homeless people we see on the streets, a lot of them come from those broken homes, or they come from like, not having that support or those resources that they need to transition and be consistent with with their transitions.
Man, I I just feel so, I know the systems so many of our systems are just flat out broken, and so many people are falling through cracks that I'm so grateful that there are advocates. That's what you are, an advocate, what's the name of the book you held up earlier? You've got
The name of the book that
Innocence Taken. That's it, right?
And it was co-authored because it was my first rodeo as an author, my first break into the author where I am working on my next book. But that book is called Innocence Taken, and it's basically my introduction of how I got into the foster care system, right? Because a lot of people wanted to know, like, Mr. Yu, how did that happen to you? Like, I guess from the average person, they can't understand, like, how would a child end up in a system like that, right? So with this book, that's what I talked about. I talked about some of the things that my parents went through, or some of the things that I was exposed to as a child that led up to me being taken out of the home with my mom and going into the foster care system.
So you're up till 7 or so years old, you were in an abusive situation, and there's,
yes, ma'am,
more than that than we would like to think, but yes. And the child doesn't know. They think, often I think they kind of think that's all they know. It's their life, right?
Exactly.
And it doesn't. That's
incredible that you say that, Miss Charla, because that's what it was. Until being taken out of the home with my parent, I didn't know my parents were struggling. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was,
that's normal. That's your life. How you don't have a perspective that until you went into that other home, that somebody actually lives in a decent, calm, basically, arena, right?
It was like night and day. It was like totally different lifestyle. And it was so crazy because I can remember even more, like when I talk about it, it's like God has blessed me with this amazing memory to just be able to envision these things. And I remember like every morning was so excited to wake up because being in that new space, and it was so organized and everything was just so clean and it's crazy, and the people were just so nice that it was so exciting to even just wake up in the morning and do life, right? Seeing that newness, right?
So the contrast is going from really hard times and darkness and dirt and disorganization and chaos, right? Right. So, and I'm hoping that the foster system does address, that really up levels a lot of that for the kids. And
right. But like I said, it's not.
But it had to have been traumatic. You left.
Every experience. It's not every foster home. It's not every foster parent.
There's. I'm going to tell you a story real quick. There was and I think you'll relate to this. I was on my last retirement trip of my entire 34 career with Delta Airlines, 34 years. I was laying over in. My last layover was in Amsterdam, and my son went with me, and we went to see Meep Geese. She's the most famous person nobody has ever heard of. But she's the lady who hit Anne Frank, right? So Meep Geese, and the man who created the Anne Frank Foundation, I got to be in her home when she was 99 years old and have a relationship. I'd met her a few times. But Cornelius Sauk, Sauk, Suijk or something, he's the one that Otto Frank gave the missing pages of the diary to, the 8 pages or something that were missing to this man. And he told me the story of the number one word that keeps prejudice alive. There's one word, it's a 3-letter word in English, the.
The
THE. It's te
oh,
in Dutch, but THE. So I think this is important to get out there, and I put it in my book. I talked about it in one of my split second transformation book. The in that context, the Jews, the blacks, the teenagers, somehow I go, the lawyers, and I go, well, that one's kind of true. Get a little joke in there. But you stop to think about that. Before, all these people were neighbors in Germany and all this stuff. They were all cohabiting. Everybody's happy, getting along. And all of a sudden, these propaganda comes out and says, well, the Jews, right?
right.
So all of a sudden, we've grouped individuals into a common, what's the word I want to use? Just, a common ground, like a cult, or just whatever. Right. And they took all the individual out, all their neighbors that they used to have coffee with or whatever, shop in their shops, were Jews or teenagers, or whatever the word might be, the group might be. So anyway, I don't know why that came to mind. I think it's something to consider, because we do tend to group people without the individual.
Right.
And there's not one group that there's not good and bad and right and wrong, and there's not a group out there that doesn't have both.
Absolutely. That brings to mind when, like, going through the system that I went through, it taught me so much compassion and empathy, right? But at the same time, even though, like, I'm a person of empathy and I'm an empath, I've met a lot of narcissists, right? And they're like the opposite, right? And I don't think I think if it wasn't for what I went through, there's a lot of things that I wouldn't have had the opportunity or the mindset to learn because of what I went through, right? And I think that right there sets the foundation for a lot of choices and things that I do, or I intend to engage in, because of what I went through as a child, right? Is allowed me to have patience and more understanding and empathy for people who suffer on a scale that a lot of people may not have the understanding or the patience to hear or see people in that capacity, right? And it goes so much further than just foster care, right? From being in the foster care, yes, but because of being in the foster care, I've adopted this mindset and this way of what's it called?
Or I can just say, we've had a blip in the electricity, so we were taking a little fun break here, and we're back. We're back. So we're going to talk more. You're going to be talking now more about the compassion and empathy that you have gained through the system. And some people take it. Can I just say this? I think some people take it one or the other. They're going to go be victims, or they're going to be victors. They're going to go, take and find what's wrong or find what's right. So I'm so glad you found what's right. So
yes, ma'am. I think, and I totally agree. I think it's all about perspective, right? You can either choose to be a victim or you can choose to be a survivor, right? And I chose to be on the survivor end of it and use my voice and use my story to empower and impact other people, right? And I think we all have that choice to make. And that's what I tell the youth that I go and speak to today, right? I'm getting them to understand, like, look, I'm your mirror, right? I've been through what you're going through right now, and I made it out. But how I made it out was making a choice, right? To look at that as a platform for me to use to inspire somebody else instead of using it as a crutch. Maybe it was God setting me up for success. Maybe it was God allowing that to happen for me and not to me, right? So that shifts the mindset and look at and allowing kids to look at it like, hey, look, I can use this as a platform to build my story to impact the youth that's coming before me. I mean, becoming or coming after me, right? So it's a lot of it is perspective, right? And at this point of my career, in my life, I'm not even gonna say my career, in my life, I've learned to be grateful for going through that system because from what I understand now, it was literally God helping me um, when I didn't even know I needed help. Or it was God like really stepping in and providing us a safe haven when we didn't even know that's what we needed as a kid. Like I didn't know my parents were struggling as much as they were, and the things that the different addictions and things that they have that was like setting them back that was affecting us. So I thank God for taking me through that system because it has allowed me to become the person that I am today with being able to see things with compassion and see things with from a empathy standpoint. So yeah, if it weren't for that, I don't know where I would be.
So it draws to mind. I mean, was it an evolution through that, or was it a moment that you're like, you know what, I have a choice?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely say it was an evolution. It was an evolution over time, still, because like I tell people, and I even write in my book, I ran from it for a long time, right? I ran from it for a long time because I was just ashamed of it. Even while I was in it, a lot of my peers and kids who I thought were my friends and I was trying to fit in and be cool with, a lot of them gave us a hard time with being set apart and with being different from what they understood of what a normal kid was, right? And so as like after aging out, Miss Charla, I ran from it. I was so ashamed of it. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to live it, so anymore. So I went into my career of the fashion industry and being a model, and didn't talk about it. I mean, it was crazy because when I finally started to talk about it, it was so many people who I had to work with, like celebrities and influencers and models, and design. It was like, Mr. You, we never knew that because I didn't talk about it. And the way I present myself, the way I dress, and the way I keep myself groomed and everything, you wouldn't think that I went through something like that. But that right there is a lesson in its own. Like you can't judge a book by its cover, right? There has been other times in my life where I really needed help, Miss Charla, and people would turn or they wouldn't believe me because of the way that I always presented myself. Like the way I present myself, Miss Charlie, you've seen me in person. And I mean, I don't know. That's a gift from God, the way I can still get up no matter what I'm going through, to still get up and present myself and dress myself. I've always been like that, but that doesn't mean that I don't go through things in life where I need help. So it's a lot of things I've learned over the years from being in the foster care system and just being a person that's able to like turn and live in my authenticity, right, of what I've been through and showing that vulnerability with telling my story, right? It's taught me so much. And just hearing other people's story too, Miss Charla, it has been an amazing journey and the evolution of God coming to me and speaking to me and telling me that it's time that I started to live in my truth. It has been an amazing journey and an amazing evolution of watching this door open and seeing all of these new things that God has in alignment for my life, right? And with me accepting this duty and this challenge of doing this work, He has opened some amazing doors. I've been on some amazing stages talking to hundreds of people, like a lot of people, telling my story and seeing them, seeing tears run from their face, and it's incredible, and it's something that I never take for granted, right? And the most amazing part about this whole revolution is, as a kid, I used to be so introverted, Miss Charla. Like I wasn't the person of many words, and to look back at a lot of these videos of speeches I've done and stages I've had the opportunity to grace is incredible to see the miracle that God is able to do through anybody when you have a calling on your life or you're destined to fulfill a purpose. God is able to turn whatever situation around so that he gets the glory. I've literally seen it with my own essence, my own being. I've seen the miracles God is able to do.
You have some quotes, and I love them. I don't just overcome adversity; I turn it into access for others. Would you speak that out loud and actually just make it into a little paragraph here? Speak
Yes,
that.
ma'am. I really don't. I don't just overcome adversity. I literally turn it into access for others, for them to be able to see someone who was literally facing many different odds and still to overcome and to become something in life. I think that's one of the greatest gifts you can give anybody, to let them know that their life still has purpose, right? It doesn't mean that I'm not going to go through more challenges. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to have to overcome more odds, but the being able to be that mirror for somebody else, that literally saves people's life, because sometimes some challenges will be harder than others, and some people may feel like they want to give up, but when they can see you striving and continue to fight and beat the odds, it does something to their heart, right? It does something to their being that makes them want to get up and fight as well. So for me to be able to be that vessel, Miss Charla, I'm so grateful, man. Like I said, I'm 40 years old, right? It was at one point I didn't even think I'd live to see this age. I got friends that I grew up with in Alabama. They didn't make it. They didn't make it to see this age. So of course, I don't just overcome adversity. I'm a living testimony that your life still has purpose, and you still can wake up tomorrow, or you can lay down and take a nap right now and wake up on the other side of that nap and decide, you know what? I'm going to turn my life around. I'm going to live intentionally and on purpose.
Wow. So exactly. So my book, Split Second Transformation, Change Your Words, Change Your Life, 31
Absolutely.
Daily Practices you can change in a split second. It is all your choice. I don't care where your circumstances are. I was in a class this morning and they're talking about James 1, and count it all as joy. And then you have a reward that you will have it all, basically. And when she said, this is one of my coaches, Brenda Byers, but she said, when you get an adversity or something happens, stop right then and say, thank you for this gift. What will I learn here? And thank you for working through it. My prayer is always thank you, not begging,
Yes.
Anyway, another quote you have, and let's just encapsulate this one. I am proof that where you come from never outranks who you become. Let's say that and put it in a context here.
That is actually one of my favorite, because like I told you earlier,
say it so we can have it from your lips, and then we'll have it.
It was,
I am proof where you
I am proof that where you come from does not define you. It actually refines you to who you're destined to become. That's more of how I would put it or say it in a presentation. Because like I said earlier in this interview, was like, I didn't even know my parents were struggling. I didn't know. But when I was able to be taken out of that environment and placed into a new environment, what amazing things we can become with just shifting our mindset or shifting an environment. And it's crazy because I tell a lot of caseworkers that now sometimes we have to take those kids out of the environment that they're in and take them to visit or on a field trip to a new environment, and it's just amazing to see what it does to their mindset, right? And it just goes to show you, like, no, you do not have to be what your circumstances say you should be. You have a choice to rise above it and become greater, right? But it all starts with mindset, right? And a lot of times that mindset can be shifted when you can show that subject or that person, like, look, this is what it looks like on the other side of that track. If you have the desire to go across unfamiliar territory.
It's always fun. I mean, my whole show is about telling people, offering hope and having, telling their stories of overcoming. And that's why, I just love it. It's precious to see that so many of us, there's nobody that doesn't have a story of overcoming. Some of them are more compelling, right, than others, but as far as the big picture, but we all got them. And and it's so fun when they're, there's that rags to riches or abuse to where you've become a success here. Basically, I think you would be considered successful by most standards. And so,
I think so.
and I mean, you dress like a rock star or whatever, you've got such a fun jive about you, or whatever that word might be.
Well, I think
these days.
It's the energy, right? It's the energy that I choose to operate in, right?
And it is a choice.
Yeah, it's a choice.
There you go. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. I don't have much light on this video because of, I guess I'm facing the wrong way, but I chose to live in the light, right? I chose to be on the good side, right? I choose to believe in Jesus Christ. I choose to use my story I choose to use it for good, right? And it's a choice. It's a choice that you make. And I choose to look at it from that perspective. Like, hey, I went through what I went through, not for me. Right. I went through it for somebody else. Right. And I think a lot of people, once they learn to understand that a lot of things that they go through in life it's not God punishing you. I used to think that it was God punishing me for something that I did that I didn't even know that I did wrong. Like, why did God
me?
Put me in? Why did he take me from my parents? Like, what? But it
why
was
me?
Yeah, why me? But it was,
and then it's like, why not you? I mean, really, that's
It was
that's the old
him
question.
pulling me up because he knew that I would have to do this podcast one day. He knew that there's going to be somebody to see this. We might not know who it's going to be yet, but I've literally done podcasts in the past, and podcasts would do high ratings, more than any of their other interviews. But God knew that was going to happen. He knew that was going to happen before I was even born. But the story had to be, I had to go through it. You have to go through it. But going through it is what makes us sharper.
Exactly.
So what makes us better.
Say that last sentence.
It's what makes us better. Going through it is what makes us better. If you just don't give up and you go through it. And I'm going to tell you something, Miss Charla, that is so profound to me about going through it. It's something that I didn't realize as a kid when I was actually going through the fire. I didn't realize that God will get in the fire with you. He'll get in that thing with you and go through it with you to make sure you're covered and protected, to make sure that he gets the glory, right? So a lot of these kids, a lot of these people that are going through something, you think you're alone, you're not. You're not alone. You just have to change your perspective and realize that God is within you. You have that power to overcome any situation.
I love that you just brought that up because he's not out there. He's inside of you. And when you say, I am, you're speaking God's name in you. And you should never say anything.
I am Mr. You.
There you go.
I am. It's powerful. It's like everything is intentional.
The breath of life is God in you. And if you start changing I am sick and tired, or I hate this job, whatever it is, you change those languages. Every word matters. Every word matters. Change your language and you will shift your direction. So you wrote here too, the real work isn't becoming someone new. It's remembering.
Oh my God.
Okay, so wait, let me finish. I'm going to finish it, then I want you to repeat it because I want to get it in a nutshell. The real work isn't becoming someone new. It's remembering who you are or were created to be.
All along.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So say that in one sentence, and let's capture it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite. That's definitely one of my favorite ones. A lot of you look. Your purpose is not to become this other being. It's not to become something that. And a lot of times, it's crazy how we just compare ourselves. But that's not your. That's not your purpose. Your purpose is not to become something else. It's to become the individual that only you were destined to be. Only you, right? Your goal is to become the better you. It's not to become somebody else. It's not to become that celebrity that you like. It's not to become or to be your next door neighbor whose house is probably bigger than. It's not. That's not your goal. That's not your objective to become in life. Your goal is to become who you were always destined to be. And no matter what hardships, no matter what tough times come your way, all of those things are put in place to sharpen you, to make you better for who you are supposed to be, right? Everybody has, like Miss Charla said earlier, everybody has their challenges. Everybody has their hardships. Everybody has their own tests, right? But you need to keep your eyes on your own paper because your test, your sequence of questions, or they not like the person's next to you. They can be going through a whole different test.
You never know.
They could be in a whole different chapter that you probably haven't even got to yet. Right? So you need to be focusing on becoming the best you. Right? I love that quote, Ms. Charles. It just threw me back, like hearing you read that, because it's so powerful. And I think
You wrote it though, right? It's your quote.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's beautiful.
It's so powerful to hear somebody else say it too.
The real work isn't becoming someone new. The real work isn't becoming someone new. It's remembering who you are always created to be. That is stunning and beautiful. And I'm so grateful. I am Mr. U.com. I am Mr. U.com is how we find Rondregus, Rondregus, Underwood. And, we've got last word. I mean, we've had interruptions. We've had all kinds of little things, and it's the time goes so fast anyway. But thank you for being with me today, and I want to hear your last words of encouragement.
My last words of encouragement is I know I sent in something else, but I don't know. God just put something else on my spirit. Is my last words are just you guys just learn to stay the course, right? I think. Oh, I know it's so easy for us to get sidetracked, right? We want to be accepted. We want to have friends. We want sometimes things to go the way that we predict or the way that we see them going. And that's not always the way life is going to be. Like life is going to throw us curveballs. Life is going to sometimes go against our own expectations. But I know for a fact God is doing a new thing. He's doing a new thing. And that new thing might be unfamiliar from what you may used to be, from what you're used to seeing, right? But you have to trust and know that God favors you and he has plans to prosper you, right? So Stay the course and trust that you're a winner and you're a survivor. You're not a victim. You're a winner, right? And that's my closing words. Like, stay the course. You guys understand that God is doing a new thing in this season. And there's a lot of unfamiliarity. There's a lot of things that are going on right now that may be unfamiliar or going against what you expected. But he's still in the miracle making business for sure.
I love it. Yes, yes, yes. And one of the things I say all the time, even when it doesn't feel like it, everything is always working out for me. I mean, everything's always working out for me, because where else do I have to be than where I am right now? So,
Absolutely.
and we're the only place
You're
we can,
supposed to be.
yeah, it's the only place we have to be in this split second in time. And so you might as well take a deep breath. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How do I take the next step and keep moving? So, Rondregus, thank you so much for being with me today. And we've got to go. So I look forward to catching up with you again soon. And always, always, always remember, choose joy. I'm taking a mini moment to share about cell health. One of the most important pieces in our body. Are your cells hard and crunchy? Are they soft and malleable? And let me tell you, if they're hard and crunchy, the nutrients can't get in and out. And if they're soft and squishy and malleable, the nutrients can. So when you have good, soft, malleable cells, you have better brain function, hair quality, heart function, skin elasticity, inner organs are better, and your joints and muscles are better. Whoop, see that? But like 99% of North Americans, we're out of balance in our omega-3 to omega-6. Test, don't guess. We've got a test. It will absolutely give you your results on a full scale test of your balance. You need to be 3-to-1 or better, like 99% of North Americans are not. So we've got a simple, simple, simple solution. 1 second shot of beautiful golden omega-3 oil a day. Test, don't guess. Now back to the show.